Hello and welcome back, and that's right, we're carrying on covering some of the deals and good offers that are knocking around on Prime Day, and this is day 2 of that event. Again, we did make a video about this yesterday that I recommend you check out that looks largely the same as what you're seeing here, and this is going to be much shorter one because frankly there just aren't a lot of decent deals left. So in this video I'm just going to talk about some of the newer offers that have appeared over the last 24 hours in different regions. Not all of them, unfortunately, more on that later on. And in this much shorter video I'm just going to talk about the deals that currently still are running. And again, if you hadn't already watched the other video, quick disclaimer: number 1, we don't monetize this video, there's no ads on this. 2, none of these are offers that I wouldn't personally go for, and some of which I already have, more on that later on. And number 3, there are links to everything I talk about in this video in the description, so if you are interested in any of them, please use those links. If you do that, it results in a small fee coming to here at the channel, and it goes directly back into NAS Compares. It's me and Eddie, and it allows us to keep doing what we do. This is like a fundraising effort. You don't have to click them, it'd be nice if you did. You don't have to do any of that, but let's get started. Now, when I made that video yesterday, obviously some newer offers have appeared, but the thing I want to talk about is the DS1522 Plus, because despite me having a myriad of different alerts, despite me trying to monitor different offers so I can let you guys know and update our deal list accordingly, and again, if we look in, you'll be able to see that the DS522 has appeared on there. One of these I added, one of them someone else added over time. Despite all of that, I never saw the DS1522 arrive on sale, and a few users already highlighted that they saw it on offer in the interim. Now, I've looked up the product, I've gone into the buying options, even Amazon themselves alerted me that this deal existed yesterday, but try as I might looking in different regions of the world, I cannot find this thing on offer. So I believe that the users that I said have got it on offer, it was on there, but can I strongly recommend, and I'm going to put a link in the description to it, to check, because I'm not the only one that have, been highlighted that the DS1522 is on offer. And that is a great NAS. It's got the 4 LAN ports there on the rear. It's got a 10G upgrade option. It's expandable by another 10 drives. It's got an AMD dual core 4-thread Ryzen processor and 8 gig of ECC memory. If that's on offer, go for it. But I'll be damned if I can find it anywhere or actually on offer despite other people finding it. So take the time and check. And I'll put links to a few different retailers below. And that, along with the DS723, are still, for me, some of the best offers out there. And the 723 is still in stock and on offer. And that is a frankly incredible price for that premium grade 2 bay there. So again, if you're still on the fence holding out for something better, that's as good as it gets as far as I'm concerned for deals at Prime Day. But carrying on. Overnight we saw the new Synology BeeDrive, that external SSD with the backup software, arrive in price. Go away, Bing, with your silly little pop-ups. With that, we've got the 1TB and the 2TB, and the 2TB is dropped to $169. Now, you're going to see some other external SSDs in this video. That is not a great price for an external 2TB drive. But once you factor in the software and the Synology integration with it, it's actually not too shabby. And again, we've reviewed this on the channel, and for what it is, it's pretty good. And it'll be nice to see where Synology go with it. But ultimately, if you're looking at an external drive for your existing Synology NAS ecosystem, this might be a good shout for you there for 2 terabytes of storage. If you're looking at 10G upgrades, I mentioned a 10G card that I saw on offer yesterday. And right now, this is even better than that. This is a 4-port SFP card. We'll talk more about SFP transceivers later on. But this is a 4-port 10G card. And you're going to need a Gen 3x8 slot minimum. But this is going to allow you to add 4 10G slots to either a supported NAS system or a client hardware for your OS, or a third-party server, maybe a true NAS, and QNAP as well. This is supported on some early gen QNAPs as well. So again, there's a huge amount of external throughput open to you there for $159. Moving forward, when it continues on the subject of 10GBE, we've got a StarTech to Thunderbolt 3 adapter. And again, this price is not out of this world. I'll get onto why I particularly picked it in a moment. Again, that 34%, more like 10-15% drop. But the reason I'm highlighting this here is because it's copper. Now, there are 10G to Thunderbolt 3 adapters out there for around this price and lower, but they are all fiber or SFP plus based. This is one of the few that I could find that was not only copper based 10G at that price point, but also supportive of auto negotiation down to 2.5G as well. So this would allow you to use the Thunderbolt port of maybe your MacBook or Windows system and then connect to an existing 2.5G NAS, and then later on down the line, if you upgrade to 10G, this would service you throughout that time. And it's completely bus powered, so no external power supply needed. And again, at 200 in that context, it's a very good deal, in my opinion. Next up, so Brent, we looked at the 8-bay version of this, more on that later on. And this is their JBOD system, exceedingly well put together. And probably one of my favourite external DAS boxes, without RAID included, that I talked about for a long time. And this is, again, their USB 3.2 system, 10 gig external. And if you're running a system that, you know, for a standard JBOD external, this is a great option. Also, I believe it includes either a Acronis or SoftRAID included with it. It's a great little system. And again, we looked at the 8-bay, more on that later on in another region. But ultimately, I think that's really it for the US offers. And I think we should move on to our next region. And over to the UK, and I'll be straight with you. Yesterday when I was talking about some regions such as Canada and Australia not really getting any offers, and I'm, you know, full disclaimer, they are not going to be in this video. I would say the UK also did not exactly rain down the decent offers. I think we may be seeing a turning point in Prime Day and people's interaction with it, so it may be going downhill fast after this, we don't know. But I will say, in terms of UK offers, this Crucial X6 portable 1TB SSD, again, for an external SSD, 47 nickel is still a very good price, I would argue, particularly when you find out it's a Gen 3, it's a 3.2 drive as well. It supports up to between 800 and 1000 megs, depending on the read write and sequential setup that you have for your data. And for an external SSD at 1 TB that can crank out that performance, so not even a SATA SSD inside, it is using an M.2 SSD. That is a bloody good price for an external 1 TB drive. Not the best, and certainly not that 54 nonsense they're saying, but certainly a decent 20, maybe even 25% drop there that I would recommend overall. Next, that's a Brent external DAS that we talked about earlier on. This is the 10-bay version, the one that we actually reviewed on the channel in 2022 and was very, very impressed by. Now, again, that is a high price point. I know that for a DAS box that doesn't even have RAID integrated, but if you start looking at premium made USB 3.2 Gen 2 boxes at the 8 to 10 bay level, that is a not dissimilar price to what you might expect to pay from kind of off brands and, you know, straight out of China, 0-year warranty or 1 year at a push. And we're talking about a device that's got a decent level of warranty and is ready and accessible with a good support network behind it. Normally about $550, $599, that's what it was when we reviewed it. Again, maybe a 10% drop realistically for this kind of hardware, but still that is a pretty decent price overall for this 10-bay external. Now, carrying on, we can talk here about expansion cards, something I didn't really touch on enough yesterday, and there are quite a lot of half-decent offers out there. And this is a 4-port Gen 4 x 16 adapter. So Gen 4 SSDs have been dropping in price. We've seen that before with Gen 5 rolling out, and you're going to see a few more later in this video. But I will say, if you're running a PC rig that's Gen 4, and you've got an available slot, maybe one of them's taken up with your GPU card, and the other one you might have an available Gen 4 x 16 slot, this is a great way to not only attach multiple Gen 4s to your system that may only have a single M2 Gen 4 slot available in M2, but on top of that, thanks to support of things like SoftRAID and other third-party free RAID software adapters and the software level, the result is that you could have multiple SSDs rolling together to get even more exponential throughput on that Gen 4 x 16 lane. So that is a potential 32 gigabytes of bandwidth via that card that you are going to be able to free up with multiple M2s. Again, the RAID calculations aren't that straightforward, but still nonetheless, for 26 nicker to be able to add 4 Gen 4 cards to your system, that's pretty darn good. And finally, a bit of a dull note for the UK to end on, but if you're already looking at 10G NASs or cheaper 10G upgrades, you will always find that the cheaper 10G upgrades are SFP. However, the minute you want to cover any particular distance, you have to get these things called transceivers, these tiny little things that slot into the SFP fiber slot that effectively negotiate the data from all of the fibre channel cabling. Now, if you want to go for shorter distances, you can get pre-made cables called DAC cables, and these are generally quite expensive. But we're finding here for just $7.99, I know it's only half a metre, but this will allow you to directly attach over just a short distance, about that much, with a NAS to edit over 10 GBE. And you wouldn't have to pay extra for the little adapters there on the end because this cable arrives with them. So if you were looking at a cheap 10G editing solution, this will allow you to really cut down those costs that can be associated with fibre outside of the NAS box there. But let's move on to another region. And back over to France. Again, not a lot of deals left, but I want to talk about a couple of things here. One, we sort of highlighted this earlier on, that Gen 4 SSDs are really starting to drop in price. And one of the two best offers I found for Gen 4 SSDs is this one, the SK Hynix Platinum Drive. Now, it's worth highlighting, again, there are loads of Gen 4 SSDs out there all dropping in price. But this 1 TB drive for a little under 60 euros. What makes it attractive is it is, and let's translate there, it's running on 176 layer 3D TLC NAND. And also the durability on this is higher than a lot of other drives out there thanks to that. That extra layered NAND does really improve the performance levels. And ultimately, unlike a lot of Gen 4 SSDs that you may see on the market that are dropping down in price, a lot of the time brands, other than Seagate and Sabrent, I would say, the majority of brands do not highlight the layer count on the NAND that they're utilising. Generally, Micron in most cases, or SK Hynix, as we can see here, you do find that they go for the 128 layer NAND, and the 176 layer NAND is kind of the top end of what you're seeing at Gen 4 in terms of durability and performance. So overall, if you're looking at a Gen 4 drive right now, this one kind of has it all in terms of pricing per terabyte, but also the better quality NAND for the individual storage there to maintain the higher performance levels even on the lower capacities. Now I'm going to end talking here within France about Thunderbolt 3 external adapters. Now, not external adapters, docking stations. Now, this isn't a docking station we talked about before. This is a Thunderbolt 3 docking station. It has all the usual ports and connections you would expect. You know, you got your LAN, you got your USB Gen 2 on there, but this is one that also has two M2 NVMe slots in the base. Now, when we reviewed it before, we were really impressed by it because I was looking for a new docking station for the studio and for here in this tiny little room. For both of those, I bought one Thunderbolt 4 dock and I bought one Thunderbolt 3 dock, and this is the Thunderbolt 3 dock I got. I'm still using this. Indeed, you can probably hear it. Let's bring that down there. That fan in the background is because this is a fan assisted docking station, but it is running here in the background. I'm not going to dare risk lifting it up, but I do personally recommend this docking station quite a lot. And once you start looking at Thunderbolt 3 docking stations, you find that it's actually a pretty darn good price for one that's got integrated NVMe and SATA SSD support internally. Now, on top of that, they've also got a standard USB version of it, so you don't even need to go for a Thunderbolt version, and that one's half the price. So overall, if you are looking at a docking station, either for USB or graduating straight towards Thunderbolt 3 and support of Thunderbolt 4, these are the two that I would recommend. But let's close things out and head over to Germany to end today's video. Now, carrying on that subject of Thunderbolt 4 docking stations, I'll be straight with you. When I was weighing up the pros and cons of different Thunderbolt docks for the studio, and I was going for a Thunderbolt 4 one for lots of content moving forward, this is one of the ones I was considering. And genuinely, the only reason I didn't get it is it was never in stock. If you're not aware, there are a lot of Thunderbolt 4 shortages that, although are easing up ever so slightly because of Intel changing some of its ruling policies on certain components that are being used, even though that is getting a little better, still, stock of Thunderbolt 4 docking stations, and indeed Thunderbolt 4 technology as a whole, is still tremendously lean. And if you have been holding out for a Thunderbolt 4 docking station, thinking future-proofing, and you didn't want to go for a TB3 dock, This is one of the most popular out there. Indeed, one of the reviews that really took me over the edge was this one from Mac Rumors, where they were talking about it. And although they didn't touch on the slightly large PSU, something of a bane in the arse of most Thunderbolt dock stations, with very few exceptions, I would still say that their review was very, very glowing, along with other ones out there. It lacks a lot of the kind of highfalutin ports that we talked about earlier on from some of the Orico docking stations. But still, nonetheless, this is a very solid piece of kit and very well put together. And although, again, when I was looking at it before, I was seeing prices of about $230, $240. So that price drop, I would massively argue with, again, 10 to 15% drop. Had I not bought the Thunderbolt 4 docking station that I've already got, this is the one I would have bought. Hence why I'm sort of annoyed that I'm not going to buy this, but still someone else is going to get to enjoy it, but not me. Now, moving forward, we're just going to end on a couple of SSDs from WD here, the WD Black and the WD Black SN850 and 850X. Now, we talked earlier on about some of the best priced Gen 4 SSDs out there, and as you can see, for 1 TB here, it is definitely lower than what we talked about earlier on with that SK Hynix drive that we talked about earlier on. But the performance of the SK from earlier was higher than these, thanks to it utilising deeper NAND, with both of these using lower depth NAND, but in terms of layer count, although both of them use 3D TLC in-house NAND, because it's WD, of course. But still, nonetheless, in terms of warranty support, quick turnaround on those, and just generally, if you want to go for a brand that you've heard of, and you want to save a little bit of bunts as well, these are probably the better choice compared with that of SK Hynix. But if you were to ask me which is the better SSD in terms of performance, durability, I would still say the SK overall. But overall, that has been Prime Day. This is day 2. I hope you've enjoyed this. Sorry to bombard you with offers and deals like this. I know it can be fantastically tacky, but still, have you been shopping around for stuff? Did you find these videos in any way helpful? Do let me know. And of course, all of the offers we talked about today will be added to that master article here, so you can find those out. And this is updated, I believe, automatically to remove the dead wood at least twice a day, but then me and Eddie will nip in and do some housekeeping, add them, remove them, along with other users too. So do let us know if you found that helpful. But apart from that, thank you so much for watching. We're going to go back to business as usual very, very soon. We've got some real juicy videos to get to. Do check those out. One of them's a bit depressing, actually. But do check those out. But apart from that, have yourself a lovely week, and I'll see you on the next video.